Aston Martin have proved over the past 2 years that they are a team to be taken very seriously. Their incredible start to 2023 has been backed up with a sustained challenge for big points, and this season they look likely to leapfrog their engine supplier in F1's hierarchy. With Fernando Alonso committed to the team and Honda engines being fitted from 2026, Aston Martin are aiming for titles in the very near future. There is something holding them back though, and Honda have made it very clear that they'll tell the team as much. Have Honda given Aston Martin an ultimatum on Lance Stroll? And is Adrian Newey the key to the team's title-winning aspirations? Let's check it out. Aston Martin is a team with ambitions. Owner Lance Stroll makes that very clear on the rare occasion he appears in front of the media, but you can feel that ambition filtering through every team member. It was obvious in the axing of old team boss Otmar Szafnauer. It was clear with the appointment of Fernando Alonso, and it was blatant when they decided to dump Mercedes power units and sign an exclusive deal with Honda for 2026 onwards. Honda, like Aston Martin, are an ambitious company. They've enjoyed great success powering Max Verstappen to domination over the past 2 years. That Red Bull engine might be badged as Red Bull powertrains, but don't be fooled, it is Honda who do all the work. They want that success to continue, and at Aston Martin, they have the bones of a team to match that. Following Honda's initial decision to withdraw from F1, which led to Red Bull deciding to take its engines in-house and link up with Ford for 2026, the Japanese brand was forced to seek a new works partner when it reversed its exit decision. After being approached by several candidates, Honda was impressed by Aston Martin owner Stroll's ambition to put all the key elements in place for a title bid from 2026 onwards. This vision clearly resonated with the manufacturer and with Honda Racing Corporation president Koji Watanabe, who highlighted the importance of setting a clear target to motivate both Honda and Aston Martin to achieve greatness together. We know that it'll be very difficult, and it's not so easy, but we need some good targets to put in our best effort together with Aston Martin, said Watanabe in an interview with motorsport.com. So that's why together with Stroll and Toshihiro Mibe, the Honda CEO and president, we set the target to just aim for the World Championship in that year. In reality, it's not so easy. Creating a championship-winning team in Formula One isn't as simple as being ambitious. If it was, any idiot with $1 billion could turn up and take home a title. Winning in F1 requires a carefully constructed team, filled with incredible talent, and that is what Aston Martin are now trying to build. Offering an assessment of whether Aston Martin and Honda will have all the ingredients in place to mount a title challenge, Watanabe added, "Probably we're missing something, but we have to tell each other what is missing. From an Aston Martin point of view, what is missing on the Honda side, and also what is missing on the Aston Martin side. That is an honest conversation to become a top-class team together." This comment from Koji Watanabe is interesting, as it mirrors something else said when Fernando Alonso's contract extension was announced. The idea that Aston Martin is missing something to really compete at the top level isn't an idea that's new to fans. The performance gap between their two drivers is obvious for everyone to see. You don't have to be a veteran fan or a stat nut to see that Lance Stroll is not as good as Fernando Alonso. The unforced error in Saudi Arabia was exactly the kind of mistake that a top-level F1 driver wouldn't make. Clipping the wall so early in the race and wrecking your car is the kind of thing you'd expect a Mick Schumacher or Logan Sargent to do, not a driver in his 8th season. Lance is good enough to drive in F1. He wouldn't still be here after 8 years if he wasn't, but challenging for a title requires a different level. Before Alonso's contract with Aston Martin was extended, the team had conversations with Honda to make sure they were happy with the appointment, considering Alonso and Honda's rocky past. We had many conversations with Aston Martin regarding our partnership starting in 2026, said Koji Watanabe. During that time, we exchanged opinions about drivers too, and we shared an understanding between us and Aston Martin that Alonso was definitely a top-class driver. Aston Martin asked us if there would be any problems from Honda if they extended Alonso's contract. The situation was shared at various stages, but Honda did not make any requests regarding this matter. In any case, we should naturally discuss what kind of driver lineup we need to win, and it was in this context that the team decided to extend Alonso's contract. Making comments about something being missing and the requirements for a winning driver lineup once would be nothing, but the fact that Watanabe has said it twice on separate occasions brings Lance Stroll's place at the team into question. Are there conversations going on about his place, and do Honda want to change? While Aston Martin has been a customer of Mercedes and owned by Lawrence Stroll, there hasn't really been any threat to Lance's position. Lawrence had total control over what happens at the team, and they've never looked like a serious title-challenging team, so having a less skilled driver like Lance on the team wasn't a problem. With Honda coming on board though, there is a different power at play in the team. Aston Martin is still Lawrence Stroll's team, but as the power unit supplier, Honda have a huge amount of influence, maybe even enough to force out Lance. If Aston do stick with Lance past the end of the season, they'll have to justify it with their new engine supplier, something that won't be easy considering the wealth of options on the market. Yuki Tsunoda is an obvious choice. He's really impressed so far this year and on the back straight of 2023, and is a Honda-supported driver himself. Red Bull don't appear to want him because there's no reason to upset the apple cart at the moment, but he's far too good to disappear from F1. There is also Carlos Sainz available and desperate for a long-term offer. He's been linked to Sauber, soon to be Audi, many times already, but Aston Martin is definitely the more tempting proposition and far more likely to be competitive straight out the gate in 2026 compared to Audi. That is especially true if the talk of Adrian Newey defecting from Red Bull to Aston Martin comes true. Adrian is not a man that enjoys media attention. He was built up and then torn down by the F1 world during his early days in the sport at Leighton House, and since then has sensibly done his best to swerve any kind of media interest, rarely giving interviews or exposing himself outside of his presence on the pit wall at Red Bull. Aston Martin have supposedly tabled an offer that he regards as enticing. Significantly, much of the appeal lies in the projects he'd be able to pursue outside of F1 racing. At Red Bull, Newey has been a leading figure in the production of the RB17 hypercar, for example. Richard Bradley, who competes in the European Le Mans Series, said on the On the Track GP podcast, "There's also a lot of projects which are, hearing on the grapevine and speaking to people involved in the industry, enticing Newey to the Aston Martin role in projects outside of motorsport and outside of Formula 1. I don't think a rumour like that has come around for no reason. I think they probably have held preliminary talks." With Aston Martin being a force in endurance racing as well as creating some really incredible road cars, there would be plenty of variety for Newey to sink his teeth into, and considering his well-earned reputation, Aston Martin would do whatever they could to make sure he was happy and comfortable. Lawrence Stroll is apparently willing to spend big and do whatever it takes to get the best people into his team, and in terms of F1 car design, Adrian is the best. Could we see Adrian make the move to Aston Martin? And could he be designing cars for Alonso and Sainz instead of Stroll? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.